Greetings, Talvar, and welcome to another episode of the Puretide Program post-Slate Tau Detachment breakdown videos. I'm going to be putting out a bit more content over the next couple of days, specifically because there's two large events happening in the world. You've got the London Grand Tournament, which is happening not this weekend, next weekend, and the list submission is this Sunday at midnight. Straight after LGT, you've got the Las Vegas Open, so the LVO as it's known, and the list submission for that is not this Sunday, next Sunday. So I wanted to give you a list designed by myself to help you prepare for these events. I know that every single one of you who are going to these events, or just in general, will be sitting on their phone right now, and they'll be giving themselves basically paralysis by analysis. And you'll be trying to find the new hotness, the perfect list. And I wanted to kind of share with you my thoughts on what is a good list and provide you an example to help you. Because we've got, 2 days before list submission for LGT, and then a week and 2 days for LVO. You're going to have less time to practice, and you're going to want to have this perfect list ready to give you the best possible chances of success. So, the other thing I'm going to showcase is a lot of the Puretide Program Discord stuff that's been happening, and trust me, it's been popping off. And thank you for all of those of you who have been supporting me from the get-go and welcoming the new members as well. So we've had a big kind of influx of people joining because I've done the new faction focus stuff, which has been a real massive success. People are loving it and giving you that access to information to help evolve you as a player and understand what opposing armies do at the click of a button. And I'm going to be showcasing that off. And I've got some nice content planned for you in the upcoming weeks for faction versus faction stuff. So stay tuned for more. So without further ado, let's get straight into the list that I've created. So the first thing to highlight is, why do I think Mont'ka is going to be powerful? Well, what happens within the world of Warhammer is that when the Balance Dataslate comes out, everything kind of gets reset to zero again, almost. So people then adapt around what's changed. You know, armies that were powerful get nerfed, armies that were underperforming get a boost. And that opens up new lists and new armies to have a chance of pushing that kind of win rate from like a low 40s to 50s, and sometimes armies that are sitting quite comfortably that have just got a tiny little bit of a tweaking suddenly go up to being the big dogs on the meta. So I think we're in for a bit of a culture shock, and it's no longer going to be Knights, Death Guard. It's going to be more emphasis on combat armies, big combat bricks, whether it be like Berserker Warband, whether it be World Eaters now taking loads of 8-bound as well. And then you're also going to have AdMech coming out the woodworks, and you're going to have Orcs coming out the woodworks as well that are very horde-based armies. Now, the great thing about Mont'ka is that you can just go, while everybody's working out what they want to take and how they want to construct their list, Mont'ka operates very simply in the early stages of the game. I'm going to get to you fast, I'm going to hit you with crippling damage, and I'm also going to control the tempo of the game. So while an opponent is thinking, okay, well, I've not had as many reps with this new list, and then you just aggressively push and pressure them to make mistakes, that's why Mont'ka comes out with a killing blow. So I genuinely think Mont'ka is a great detachment to use when the meta has just undergone loads of change. So what I've done is I've also looked, you got to look at stratagems, enhancements. What does a detachment do? So as we know, Mont'ka lethals for the first 3 turns when guided, and you get the assault on all of your units, assault keyword on all your units for the first 3 turns. Enhancements are really powerful in Mont'ka because you've got one to really add extra strength to what this detachment is trying to do. And this detachment really favors from strong infiltration and strong scout moves. An enhancement called Strike Swiftly grants 2 units of your choosing Scout Move 6 ability. Note, this has to be done before any scout moves are done. So you can select your 2 targets and go, cool, brilliant. And scout moves are done after knowing who's going first. So if you're going first, you can be aggressive. If you're going second, you can kind of still be semi-aggressive, but also be defensive in terms of the retreat. So you've got options there. So I have gone and taken the Strike Swift enhancement because I think that's just a no-brainer, really. You really want to emphasize on the speed, and having 2 units with Scout of your choosing is great. Giving it to units that don't have Scout, like Riptides, tanks, you name it. The other enhancement is Strategic Conqueror. So in a world that we live in where OC is very important, so that's objective control to, hold on to primary or deny primary, I think this enhancement, being able to pick an objective at the start of the game to be your Strat Conqueror objective, and anything that you put on there, it gains an additional OC. Now, this is really good for two reasons. Units that maybe have OC1 suddenly go to OC2, so Pathfinders suddenly become the same OC as Breachers. If your battle shot, it doesn't matter because you get reduced to 0 in your battle shot, but then you gain +1 objective control with the Strat Conqueror. So even if you're battle shot, you still hold objectives. You can also do this defensively to hold onto your own, what we call an expansion objective, or you could use it aggressively to deny your opponent their expansion objective by putting more OC on there because of this enhancement. Now, something to note about Strat Conqueror, it only works if you are on the battlefield and also while he's alive. So if he dies, then that goes away. But with an Enforcer commander, they're quite durable. So let's get into the characters. So I've chosen two, and they're both armed the exact same. An Enforcer commander with 4 missile pods, a marker drone, and a shield drone. They have a 2-up save, they have 7 wounds because of the shield drone, and they're quite tanky. So they also grant crisis teams the Armor Contempt rule, which is basically when you're targeted by a ranged attack only, you reduce the incoming AP by 1. So if they hit you with AP2, it becomes AP1, and if you happen to be receiving the benefits of cover, it'll be AP0. So you can keep your crisis alive. And with crisis suits being able to take the extra wound through the shield drone, it means that actually crisis suits can be quite deceptively durable. So I've got 2 enforcers here. One's obviously going to start on the board, the other one can be in reserve for when it's needed, and they're going to have all missiles. So then we go on to infantry. Now, infantry is really important in this game because, you can use them as screens to block enemy charges, and you can also use them to just kind of do secondaries, and Croup Carnivores have a great ability to sticky objectives. So we have 1 unit of Croup. We have 30 Pathfinders. Now, the argument here is people go, well, what about Breachers? Aren't Breachers better? So Breachers and Pathfinders have different roles. Breachers are great because they BS3 innately, they reroll wounds when the enemy's on objective, and they're Strength 6 AP1. Okay. Pathfinders don't have any AP, but they have more of a utility role, which is you can take the recon drone for infiltration. Pathfinders have Scout move innately, and that's Scout move 7, so they have movement 7 rather than movement 6 like Breachers. And they've both got the same armor save, but the Breachers are a bit more durable because they have the Guardian drone for -1 to wound from ranged. But then you look into the guns. So Pathfinders have a great rule, which is effectively self-guiding. So when they pick a target to spot, when they're an observer, they gain the ignores cover and +1 ballistic skill at that target that they've spotted. So they are self-sufficient. They don't need anybody else to guide for them. And then they can take these 3 special guns, which are iron rifles or rail rifles. Iron rifles are the more popular choice, and they become their 7-1-1 with 3 shots each, or you can overcharge them for 3 shots still at strength 8, AP2, damage 2, but they gain hazardous keyword. Now, the great thing about Mont'ka is you've got a stratagem to pick 2 units against the same target, and they can gain an extra AP. So suddenly those Pathfinders become just as damaging as Breachers, potentially more, especially when you factor in the full rerolls if you're shooting at a target that's killed one of your units, excluding Croup, because that's a different stratagem that you've got. So Pathfinders suddenly become the best utility and really good output. So for me, Pathfinders are better than taking Breachers. And with the Strategic Conqueror enhancement that I've taken, it means that actually I'm now OC2 if I go onto my expansion or their expansion objective because of this enhancement. Whereas usually Breachers are OC2, Pathfinders are OC1, but at least my Pathfinders can be OC2 now. So I've taken 30 of those, and I've given 2 of the units the infiltration drone because I think Mont'ka really wants to infiltrate, and I've got 1 unit with the grab inhibitor drone, which makes somebody -2 when charging. And then I've got 2 units of stealth suits with the Fusion Blaster, Marker Drone, Shield Drone. They're pretty standard for reroll 1s to hit and 1s to wound. And then we go into the meat of the list, which is basically 2 Fire Knife Crisis Battlesuit teams, all armed with missiles. So the problem with missile pods is the fact that they've got the great range, which we love. They've got a really good strength profile, to be honest, to tackle infantry and elites, strength 7, and they damage 2s, so it's pretty good, right? And then the Fire Knife team rule is that they get to have full rerolls to hit when targeting something at full starting strength. or reroll ones to hit if they're below starting strength. That's the unit that they're shooting at, not them themselves. The AP1 is what lets them down. But in Mont'ka, like I said, you can pick 2 units, grant them an extra AP. So suddenly, finite teams can be 7-2-2. And this unit will have 12 shots. Now, Mont'ka grants lethals for the first 3 turns. With the ability to re-roll your hits to fish for lethals is great, because then you get around that wound step. And if you put the commander in the unit, which obviously we're going to be doing here, that's 20 strength 7, potentially AP2 damage 2 missiles at 30-inch range. They've got defensive stat line with the Armor of Contempt, and they've got 5 wounds each, but the commander hits on 2s as well. So when you're rolling with 4 rerolls hit, you might as well reroll anything that's not a 6, because you might as well fish for those lethals. So this is going to be a great answer to horde-based armies, berserkers, mass marines, blood angels, orcs with their beast snagger boys, or the boys with like female pain and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really, really good in terms of quantity of shots, quality of shots, and can always punch up into higher toughness vehicles or monsters because of lethals. So it's like a Swiss Army knife. Then what we kind of want is we want some damage 3s, and we want a little bit more emphasis on that quality and quantity. And then the Iron Hammerheads can provide this role perfectly. Hammerheads themselves gain +1 to hit versus monster or vehicle. And they have an innate reroll to hit or wound, which you can use on your Seekers. So Iron Cannons being D6 +3 blast, when you overcharge them, it goes from strength 7 to strength 8, AP3 rather than AP2, and damage 3. So you can just go, right, Iron Hammerhead and a finite team shooting into one thing. It can be brutal combination, so I do like having everything in kind of like 2s here. So I've got 2 Iron Hammerheads that can easily punch up into the larger targets with lethals and the Seeker missiles once per game, and then I also can punch up my fire knives. So these are really good Swiss Army knife tools, and I've got plenty of Daka to gun down horde-based armies. We need a little bit of utility, so what we've done here is put in 2 single piranhas. Their scout move 9 is great, can get into early positions, can maybe tag up, clog up some stuff, maybe cause battle shocks, fire their once per game Seeker missiles, and go and hunt down like transports, things like that. So for 60 points, it's perfect, and can also be great pieces to sacrifice to then bait the opponent to kill them, so that you can proc the full rerolls to hit against that target that killed the piranha. And for 60 points, why not? T7, 7 wounds, annoying little profile as well, and super fast. Scout move 9, move 14, assault. So on average, you're scout moving 9 if you're allowed to, and you're not being blocked by enemy infiltrators. Movement 14, so that's already 21. With an average advance 3, it's 24 inches. If you do happen to want to spend auto advance, that could be what? There's more than that. My maths are bad there. 14 plus scout move 9, it's 23. So it's 26 inches on average. And then if you auto advance, it's 29. Crazy. So I could see a list with multiple piranhas and maybe bigger units as well. But for this one, I just want to have single piranhas just to be annoying and start that trading. Then we have the Riptides. So the Riptides have obviously received a massive buff. And for me, these in Mont'ka are powerhouses. Being able to scout move 6 from the enhancements, auto advance, lethals, strength 10, they can punch up massively into vehicles. So if you assume the averages are rolled 6 dice, you're rerolling 1s to hit and 1s to win because you're guided by stealth. You're going to get 1-6 from lethal. You're going to get 1-2. And then the other ones are maybe moving toughness 10 vehicles on 4s. You might prop your dev wound. These Riptides can do serious work into everything. Great into elites because you're now strength 10, so you can wound Terminators on 2s. If they have any -1 to wound, you're still wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. If you're guided by stealth, so very, very, very powerful. Whereas before, at the low strength value, it was annoying, especially if Terminators were -1 to wound, because then you got this Iron Riptide that can only wound Terminators on 4s. And now you can punch into those transports. You can easily kill transports now, but you could also destroy toughness 10 tanks as well. And if it is higher toughness, then you know what? You still got lethals. So the 3 Riptides is brilliant. And then finally, to round out the list, a Devilfish. I think having 1 transport is great, because if you put a Pathfinder team, and remember we've got 30 of them, you could put the -2 to charge Pathfinders in the Devilfish to give the Devilfish scout moves 7. And then get that into like a kind of like a decent staging position, and I really like it. So in this list, you've got everything that you need. You've got your anti-tank pieces combined with Riptides plus the lethals and the Seekers that are dotted around on Piranhas and the Hammerheads. You've got the ability to clear hordes, because even your Pathfinders can do it on their own as well. And the Pathfinder and Devilfish combo at the beginning could be could be quite a nice little, almost like a Casacrine kind of bomb in a Torok. So you can just kind of scout move it 7, yeet it, and go and attack some infiltrators that are trying to be staging on their expansion objective, and just go, cool, guide myself, let's go. And then it also grants lethals for anything else that's shooting their indirect, so +1 to hit, -1 to hit, but lethals, because when you're guided, you have lethals. So excellent. So I do like the synergy of this list. You've got 40 infantry, which is enough. You've got the scout moving pieces with the Piranhas. You've got your tanks. You've got the Riptides. You've got a lot of durability, and you've got these crisis teams that can threaten people's deployment and future placement in terms of where they move to, because you've always got the rapid ingress threat, and then you've also got the deep strike threat as well. And you can just lay down a withering amount of firepower. So I think for me, this type of list is going to be absolute baller on any of the terrain. And for those players that are playing on LGT, this is kind of where I would go. Now, speaking of which, if I was just to showcase a few of the things that are happening, I have been working so hard recently, not just on the faction focus stuff, but now I've gone into full-blown list building mode, and I'm coming up with some horrendous lists, some ones that are just going to upset people on the opposing side of the table, and they're just going to be super oppressive and can really bank into what Tau does best, which is shooting and pressure game. So if you want to know more about these lists, then let me just show you something that I've got going on. In my Discord, specifically for the Pathfinder tier and above, so that's literally the beginner package that you can sign up for, I've got the Commanders list. So that is basically my lists that I create ready for events, and everything that I've talked about here, where I've gone, we're in analysis, paralysis by analysis, and we're looking through all the different lists. What I've done here is I did a call on it the other night, and I posted it up in a section of the Discord where you have access to, and you can say click on Mont'ka, and then it will just list all of the lists that I basically created. All right, and you can basically just have them at your disposal. So I have done Mont'ka, and as you can see, there's like 4 lists there. I've got like experimental prototype. I've got 3. Kion, there's 3. Retaliation. There's so many lists that I've been creating, and I'm going to be adding more as we go along. So if you want access to these premium lists, all you have to do is click on the description below, sign up as a minimum Pathfinder level, and you will gain access to all of my creations. And trust me, there are some absolute spicy ones that I've made that you're going to want to see. Now, with that being said, the other thing that obviously I talked about in the last video is the faction focus stuff. So when you're at this event, whether it be an RTT, whether it be the London Grand Tournament or the LVO, you're going to need to know what other armies do. And in my 25 plus years, probably more now, of experience, I know what type of archetypes exist within different factions and detachments. And what I've done is I've simplified, I've given you a solution, basically, which is you click on a faction that you're playing against, whether it be, okay, I'm going against World Eaters, brilliant. Well, what it does is it will load up the strengths of that army, it will load up the weaknesses of that army, opportunities, the things that you need to do to basically get a foothold in the game and have a chance of success. And then obviously I've given you the threats of the things that you need to be worried about and be aware of, and then I've given you a 5-step battle plan. Then if you need access to the rules and the data sheets, you click on the link below and it takes you to the Wahapedia webpage. And I've done this for every single faction in the game. So no matter what you're facing, at what point in your tournament, or even if it's just local games, you just want to know a little bit about the faction, you can just click on this and gain that access at a simple click of a button. And I cannot stress enough how well this has been received, and it's an absolute game changer when it comes to how we access information. And there's going to be plenty more to come from me and my Discord in the future. Now, that is everything that I wanted to go through. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you have any thoughts on the list that I've constructed here today, or your thoughts on Mont'ka and your own kind of experience, please, please, please put it in the comments below. And remember to support me by liking, subscribing, and commenting on the videos. It helps engagement and it helps this video reach the audience out there in the world. So without further ado, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to the next video which I'll be launching, which will be the retaliation card ray. And then I'll also be doing the experimental prototype card ray as well. So you're going to have 4 videos in less than 3 days from me. That should make up for lost time from not being active over the last month. So again, thank you very much, guys. Take care and enjoy your wargaming.